Welcome back to Nacogdoches Needlework. Today I am going to go through creating a sink mount to frame a Mirabilia for my mother. This is the continuation of framing my mom's Mirabilia. This is Halloween Fairy, and she got it done probably about a year ago. And I think it turned out so beautiful. She did such a great job. And I love the fabric. I think, if I remember right, at first she wasn't sure about the fabric, but it honestly looks amazing. So anyway, I had picked up this oval frame at a thrift store and just hadn't found the right project for it. And then my mom gave me this to frame, and it just ended up being perfect for it. So today I am going to sink mount this. I'm going to use a little bit of a different order of operations. So on this vintage frame, I actually want to keep the mat because it looks so good with the piece. And so, but there's not a lot of rabbit on the edge, if my camera focuses. Just not a lot of room to be able to fit much in there. So there was just a lot of bulk. So anyway, today I am going to just create some supports for it, and then hopefully get the mat on the back of it. If not, then I'll do that another day. But this is almost done. So the one thing about it not having a lot of space there is that this actually sits like on top of the frame. So that's the back of the lace piece. So I already traced the spot, you can see, with where it's going to line up. And I think I'm going to cut the backing board, the mat board that I'm using as the backing board, just because it's thinner. I'm going to cut it a little bit smaller, like recessed in from the frame a little bit, so hopefully it's not obvious. It might still have a little bit of a gap behind it, and it's not going to sit flush with the wall, but I think my mom will be okay with it. I decided that the best way to put this piece in the frame was to create a sink mount. So what I'm doing is I'm marking the edges of where I want my strips of foam board to be. The other thing that I did was make sure that the foam board was similar thickness to the piece of foam board I used to lace my mom's cross stitch piece. And I'm just sort of double checking the positioning of the cross stitch piece in there. So I am cutting this with just like a cardboard cutter that I have at home. It doesn't need to be perfect because none of this is going to be visible. So the color of the foam board doesn't really matter. All it's going to do is basically create a way to get the piece to sit in a box. It is important that as I cut these strips that they don't overhang the edge of the frame or are very visible along the edge, because I'm going to have another piece of support behind this, and I don't want these black pieces to be very visible. So I'm making sure that as I cut them that they're not too close to the edge, and I will end up trimming up a few of them. But again, none of this needs to be very precise. So I'm just using the edge of another piece of foam board to give me a rough guide of what size I need. Because the piece is going to be sink mounted, I'm not actually going to have any adhesive or anything attaching the cross stitch piece to the frame or to the mat. All of the glue, all of the adhesive, that's going to go onto these sink mount pieces, and then the backing board that I'm going to put over them. And it's all just going to basically hold the cross stitch piece in the basin. The adhesive I use to attach these support pieces is just regular white glue. I just make sure that it's acid free. All of the piece of foam board that I'm using on this are acid free as well, which just helps with the longevity of the piece. This vintage frame came with a double mat already, which worked out perfect because this Mirabilia had beadwork on it, and you don't want that being pressed against the glass at all. So I didn't have to put any additional spacers in. With the double mat, it left enough room between the cross stitch piece and the glass that there wasn't any pressure. So the last thing we have left to do is put the backer board on. And so I already traced around the edge of the frame, and I'm going to cut this out, and then we're going to be able to glue it on the back. And then besides putting hardware on, it's pretty much finished. So I'll be able to flip it over and show you how it looks. When I was initially picking out a paint for the frame, I did discuss with my mom, and she thought she wanted something pretty dark, like a really dark brown, close to a black. And it probably would have looked amazing. But when I went to the store, I just couldn't seem to find the right shade of very dark brown for it. So I ended up finding some folk art chalk home decor paint, and I just found it at Hobby Lobby. And the color that I used is Mellow Mocha. And I think it looks perfect. I can't believe how well it matches like the inside of the fairy's dress, and it just helps the piece really pop off the fabric. After I got done painting the frame, I went ahead and I sealed it too. So I found a chalk paint sealer. I'm pretty sure I found it at Lowe's, and it just helps to kind of keep the matte finish. It probably adds a little bit more sheen to it, but I think that it doesn't make it too glossy, and it really will help with the longevity of the frame. This piece of backer board is actually a piece of mat board. I had gone to my local framing shop because I'm pretty friendly with the owner, and he gave me some great ideas and kind of helped consult with me on this piece. I was really having some difficulty finding a way to fit a piece into a frame that it really didn't fit into. So this was his suggestion. And as you can see, I am not putting any glue on the actual cross stitch piece. So the backer board is going to be attached to these foam supports that I built. Here is the finished product. I absolutely love how it turned out, and I know my mom is going to love it too. The colors just match perfectly with her project. And then you can see here on the back, there's a little bit of a bulk for when she hangs it, but it shouldn't be super obvious.